A while ago, I did a Dark Deity blind playthrough on my Twitch, and then did like a little summarization on my on this YouTube channel. And while I've messed around the game a bit more with like its randomizer and its hard difficulty, which I'm still working on and off whenever I get the motivation, there isn't much to make another video on. Okay, well there may be other things but that's the one thing that I still gotta like get the motivation to edit. Either way, this game is very important to my channel, so as soon as I saw that the game got a DLC, I immediately spent the $10 to get it, and I changed the next day's stream to play the DLC. The only issue is that I actually had no idea what the DLC included. I just briefly looked at the Steam webpage, saw swimsuits for everybody, and so I didn't actually know if there was going to be, anything new. Luckily, there are 7 new mini missions that give you more lore and take place immediately before and after the events of Dark Deity. Before I go into the level, I just wanted to show off some of the swimsuits because there's a lot of work put into new skins for every single unit, and some of them are adorable or funny. Two of my favorites are Sophia, just because Butters has his own little floaty and I would die for Butters. And then there's Benji, because Benji has a tan of his name on his chest. Anyway, time to dive into the stories. The first story takes place 20 years before the events of Dark Deity, and it deals with the Eternal Order, focusing on a side story involving Liberty, Alistar, who is Irving's papa, Maeve, and Thalen, my dude. We have to go deal with the Sons of Shamak, I believe that's how you pronounce it, who are causing some trouble for the town. Now, before the battle starts, you get to choose the classes for all 4 of the people I get to play, which means I get to play as Alistar. I built them similar to how I had my original playthrough, but there is one major flaw with that. I had these builds with the idea that I'd have a healer. This meant that any damage that I would take is now permanent. I ended up having to reset this game because there's a lot of damage going both ways, and they only gave me a limited number of healing items. In my second attempt, I decided to make Liberty a conjurer/wizard, so she gets healing on hit and some high damage. Maeve is a strider/sniper for high crits and less weight, so she can double. Thailand is a classic Gale/windrunner. And Alistar's class is auto-picked for me as a champion. My second attempt actually goes a lot smoother. Since Liberty can heal on every hit and is naturally very tanky, I can funnel my healing items into Thalen and Alistar, since Maeve doesn't need any heals since she has 3 range and is almost always going to be safe. After the initial 2 enemies, the room kind of splits into an upper and lower path, so I sent Alistar and Maeve up to the north since that is the fewest and least threatening enemies, while the OP duo of Liberty and Thalen take out the rest. The biggest, most threatening enemies on this map are the Windrunners and the Blade Dancers, since they're pretty hard to hit and have a lot of accuracy. So they don't always do the most damage, but when healing is very limited, every chip hurts and they do it a lot. This map is almost like an infinity symbol, so the 2 groups take out their enemies, come back together, and then I send the 2 dudes up to the north to deal with the high crit outlaws, while I send the 2 girls to the south to deal with the armor units because magic is very strong. Finally, they all reconvene into a final room which has 5 enemies, 2 of whom are healers, so I have to burst them down. Now, my plan is to send Liberty into choke point since she should be able to heal 3 damage and is tanky enough that she shouldn't get 1 shot. So I send her in, she attacks first person range, instantly kills them, and then I realized that was actually the boss because the chapter ends. Then I learned that I get graded on a 5-star scale, and I get a 4. Okay. So it turns out that we were looking for a guy named Kane who betrayed the order and attempted to murder someone, and that we were tipped that he would be here, but he isn't. Alistar and Liberty are pissed and have basically sworn a blood oath to kill Kane for what he did and are angry that he wasn't here. Maeve and Thalen are just glad they got rid of a big criminal organization and decide to leave Alistar and Liberty to their vengeance quest since they didn't sign up for that. The second chapter starts 10 years prior to the events of Dark Deity. It starts with Atlas, aka Amphirin, the main antagonist of the main game, along with now the Windrunner from that one level with the guide rock thing and the booby trap temple. Yeah, that one. Inferion talks to the guide rock to see what will become the outcome of his final ritual when he gathers all the aspects. Then we get thrown into a battle as Inferion against all of the main protagonists of Dark Deity at once. It's pretty cool to see everybody's canon classes, because that's something that I could only try and infer based off of skills. And I got canon stuff. So we start in the middle with 3.5k HP and can take 3 actions per turn. But you have to fight all 3 protagonists. I also only learn I have the multiple actions after the first turn, where I waste 2 of my actions. But I get to learn just how strong I am, as I basically one-shot any non-tank unit. The only real goal is to not stay in too many people's attack ranges at once, since the HP is great, but certain units can do some crazy high damage, as you've seen with my Windrunners and stuff. I start by taking out people to the south, and the north people are so far around the map that I'm basically able to kill off every single person from the south before they even get into range of me. I then strategically take out the highest DPS unit first, followed up by healers, and finally tanks. This map isn't too hard, and it's honestly just a power trip. I still have over half my HP at the end of the chapter, so I might have been playing too safe. Even though I killed them all and have more than half my HP left, I only get 2 stars, but I don't really care about ranking, so we move on. After that, we get a glimpse of the future, and Furion realizes that the Eternal Order is trying to stop him, but he believes it will fail. We also learn that the Guide Rock is some being that tried to do something similar to Inferion, but was stopped and sealed over millennia ago in the stone. The 3rd chapter takes place just 5 years before the events of Dark Deity. It starts with the king, who is addressing concerns of some of the citizens, and is just being a jerk. Like, peak Bezos capitalist. He literally said that he was going to go and save some of his villagers just because they can't pay taxes if they're dead. So it's no surprise that there are assassins that are trying to kill him. But he's being helped by Sterling, which is Irving's older brother. So we start with Varric at 800 HP, who has a 1-2 range weapon, and then we have Sterling, who's just a normal blade dancer. Also, one awkward thing I noticed through this is that for all the non-main cast characters, such as Alistair, Sterling, Inferion, and King Varric, they don't have any dialogue for their crits, so it's just awkwardly silent as they go and one-shot these people. Anyway, since there are so few units, there's very little strategy for this one. Varric just one-rounds basically everything and takes so little damage, so my main priority is minimizing damage on Sterling, since he has only 74 HP as compared to Varric's 800. We have a big scare when suddenly every mage targets Sterling and leaves him at 10 HP, but a couple of lucky dodges and he runs to safety while King Varric decimates every other foe in the room. I somehow get 5 stars with this chapter. I don't know how, but we take those. Apparently one of the local lords sent assassins, and Varric kinda expected it. He then foreshadows Monroe's rise to power, and then basically the king is a jerk and without an heir, so one of the old lords decided to make a Hail Mary and attempt to kill him and take the throne to pass on to his son. It didn't work off, but Varric kind of shrugs off the whole attempted murder thing. The 4th chapter also starts 5 years before the events of Dark Deity, as it takes place immediately after the last chapter. Sterling and Lincoln are told that they have to go and kill the Lord who attempted to assassinate Varric. On their way, Sterling suggests that they kill a few other people as possible, since they really didn't do anything wrong. Although Varric probably wants everybody to die, he didn't explicitly say it, nor did he join us, so Sterling's doing it his own way. For Lincoln's class, I make him an Acolyte and a Phantom for high dodges, high damage, and healing on damage. And Alistair's is pre-picked again. I make my first attempt through and kill a few people, and then I make the mistake of putting both Sterling and Lincoln in range of the 3 enemies, the 2 guards and the main boss. And it's not super likely that they'll hit, but my luck sucks and all 3 of them target Lincoln and hit him, so he dies. In his next run, I have Lincoln. In his next run, I had Lincoln as a Priest Phantom last time, so I decided to change it up and go with the now Acolyte Phantom. So then, luckily, he should be able to heal if he gets attacked by all three the next time. I attempt to sneak through and end up killing 4 people, and then I get to the boss again. I realize that there is a single tile where I can aggro the boss without aggroing the bodyguards. Lincoln nearly one-rounds the boss, but literally leaves him at 1 HP. Luckily that was on the boss's turn, so Lincoln just kills him that next turn, which sets me 4 stars total. Both of the 2 are injured from the fighting. Lincoln heals Sterling, but he doesn't know how to actually heal himself. And that's when the 2 of them make a promise to each other in a pact to look out for each other's family in case one of them were to pass while they try and make their escape. Chapter 5 of the DLC takes place just 24 weeks before the events of Dark Deity. Corvin meets with Sarah, Samara, and Brooke to talk about a cult leader that people devoutly follow. Now, this one isn't weird for a cult, as those who are on my Twitch may know, but the leader is an absolute idiot, but people still follow him and treat every word as truth. Could you imagine something like that happening? Anyway, they believe that this man must have an aspect that allows him to be charismatic, so they attempt to go undercover to take down Wendell, the leader. He's just so stupid and annoying to handle that they eventually give up and get found out. The goal of this level is to hit the enemies below half health without killing them so that then they flee. The issue is that most of my units are practically gods who can one-round everything. I tried to math things out in the beginning and save everyone, but one accidental crit or an accidental skill proc can easily lead to a kill. Eventually I just gave up and played the mission like I did last time. Just try not to kill too many people. Brooke in particular, I accidentally made into a duelist/gladiator before I knew what the stage gimmick was, so she basically crits every other attack and one-shots them. Of course, the one person who deserves to die, Wendell, doesn't get crit by Brooke and end up winning by getting under half HP. It of course only nets me 2 stars, but I hate this level, so who cares? The 3 return to Corvin and find out that the aspect is the aspect of Orion, which is strange since Orion's the god of the hunt and the game that boosts crit chance. The explanation? The only thing consistent with the aspects are that they're inconsistent, except that they're extremely consistent between people in the game, so now only the game is being inconsistent. Chapter 6 takes place 10 weeks after the events of Dark Deity. Irving, Elias, and Iris return to the Eternal Order. They want to be initiated into the Order, so they are sent on a mission as a test. They are tasked to defend the village of Jumara from a orc raid with the help of the local village militia. Unfortunately, the reason for why we're defending this village is less than desirable, in that we're trying to defend them so that then we can hopefully recruit some of these people into the Order, and that's basically it. It's not because they're in trouble, but because we could potentially recruit them. Either way, we head to the village hoping that the 3 well-trained units and a bunch of militia can stop an invasion. So I make Irving into a barbarian champion, Elias into a reverie windrunner for the heals, and I make Iris into a Surge Thunderlord to work with her passives for high magical crits. The orc numbers are crazy, but so are our allies. Too bad most of them are fairly weak. I immediately use the soldiers to cover the choke points with healers, and then archers or mages that are surrounding them. In the few spots that I don't have a soldier to body block, I have the thieves cover the area. I have Irving and Elias also cover certain choke points while Iris sits behind a wall to pick off people. I make the mistake of not covering a small 1-block gap to the far north, and then all the orcs begin to sleep in. I panic, attempt to contain the issue, and once I finally get things under control, I end the turn and Iris is enraged of an enemy, and she gets crit. And that's a reset. So after the reset, I do basically the same thing, but to make Iris more useful, I turn her into a Reverie Windrunner like Elias. Once the initial enemies are finished, I begin to send out Iris into the middle of the fray. She's taken enough to survive a couple of hits, and with the healing and high damage output of the Windrunners, she draws in all the attention and kills countless orcs. Then, as the numbers begin to dwindle even further, I also send out Elias and Irving to join the fray. We finish the chapter and everyone survived. The group returns to the Order, and Alistair gives his son a chance to back down and live a free life of the non-time consuming job that he was basically forced into. But Irving is firm that he wants to join and lead the Order, and so the ceremony begins. The 7th and final chapter takes place 42 weeks after the events of Dark Deity. No clue why they're so specific about weeks instead of month, but whatever. Vesta and the Chancellor, one of the other people from the Orders that we saw in the main game, are out sailing with Ford on a mission. They're on a mission to find new locations to hide and protect the Aspects, but Ford doesn't know this mission. When they finally dock, Ford heads to a bar where he actually runs into Fenton. The two of them begin to catch up when Ford gets confronted by Vassan, a man who Ford apparently left with thousands in debt and abandoned him. This ends up starting a bar fight. So I make Ford into a duelist gladiator for high stats when he's solo, as well as healing on crits, and I make Fenton into a barbarian champion for that big one-shot potential. In this map, you have to take out the boss as well as some of the bar patrons, with the only form of healing being beers dotted around the map. It wasn't clear if this was a thing at first, so I wasted a beer and a turn figuring that out. I had Ford cleared out the top of the map while Fenton begins working his way down to the south bit. The issue is that Fenton doesn't have any forms of healing, meaning that he was pretty much constantly at death's door, and eventually got overwhelmed by mages. So I reset, same build, attempted again, and I'm an idiot. Because I am so smart, I do the exact same thing, and Fenton dies the exact same way, but like 2 turns earlier. Finally, I'm smart enough to realize that maybe they should try and stick together and prioritize any 2 range enemies. Fenton still nearly dies, but lives long enough for Ford to take out the boss. This manages to net me 4 stars. Ford and Fenton then get scolded for causing so much trouble when Vesta specifically told them to keep a low profile. Ford then gets his pay docked by Vesta and now needs to take on her next job to make a profit. And with that, the DLC is finished. It's a decent bit of DLC that expands on the universe. I wish I could have used some of my own characters instead of the pre-built ones, but it was decently fun. Fortunately, they're a bit unbalanced by the fact that there's almost never a healer, and so it's basically whatever class has a heal overrules everything. Also, I wish that they would have gone more in depth with Nao's character, the Windrunner. Like, I'm pretty sure I brought up in my original playthrough that, like, she has her own portrait, and, like, she seems so significant to the story, but she gets, like, 3 lines and is just pushed to the side. Either way, it was a decent DLC. Is it worth $10? But it certainly is a fun bit, especially if it's, like, on sale for half off. Definitely pick it up. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, bye-bye.